welcome to Unit 4. Unit 4, I know it's very interesting and it's very nice being part of these sessions. A very big thank you once again. We are on the last part of the session and well done. Before I start sharing my screen, I would like to thank you once again for still being part of this session. And to our online participants, thank you so much. For those that are watching the recording, thank you, really appreciate it. And to our guests, thank you so much also for your time and sharing your wonderful information with our online participants. Before I introduce my guests, let me start by presenting this part. Welcome to ISET Robotics live online learning session. This is Unit 4 of Robotics and Environmental Sciences. Let me just show myself so that you can see who you're talking to. So I am Dumelon Tlapo, I'm the science facilitator. All right, so we are on Unit 4, but before I talk about Unit 4, we spoke about robotics and environmental sciences yesterday, whereby we spoke about some different types of technological devices that are currently being used within the environmental sciences field. And then on Unit 2, we spoke about the My 2050 calculator, whereby we showed you the simulation app. And then we had a guest that showed us a robot that sanitizes any environmental place, such as your hospitals, your schools, as well as your clinics. And then the previous session that we had, it was jam-packed, and really thanked to my guests for taking the time. Even though we did have some load shedding problems, it's still fine, we're still continuing. Really appreciate the fact that we can use geographic information systems to highlight different types of problems that you are experiencing within the environmental sciences space. And we learned about the importance of drug discovery and how artificial intelligence can benefit in terms of drug or cancer discovery. So now we are on Unit 4. Unit 4 is all about Unit 4 is all about the environmental sciences, the introduction to robotics in the environmental sciences, the future. All right, so in this unit here, we look at some negative and positive impacts of robots in our workplaces and our daily lives. And I would certainly encourage you to join our upcoming sessions, whereby there will be a debate on this one. And you are welcome to even send us an email saying that you'd like to be part of the guests that will be part of this session, whereby we'll be talking and debating here. And then we'll be also addressing the future of robots that will be helping to reduce issues such as with climate change, as well as global warming, and then some recent innovations of robots, and as well as discuss some interesting facts about the robots. Now, I want to introduce to you what we call the Massive Open Online Course. So for our online participants, kindly bear with me. This is part of this presentation. So here, because we are on Unit 4, I want to explain this better so that you understand what I'm talking about. Because we have already registered for the Robotics and Environmental Sciences MOOC portal, the information normally we post it on the syllabus tab. So here on the syllabus tab, we've got the overview document, as well as the template for your assessment. And then we've got the SEO and educational resources. And there's a document that we use as well there. And then we have the environmental calculator, the simulation app, the one that I spoke about. One of our guests today is going to touch more about the environmental calculator. I know that some of you yesterday missed on that session, but don't worry, we're going to touch on this one today as well. And then the environmental calendar, I'm glad that Spusiso touched on this, saying that they were highlighting World Health Day. So it's part of the environmental calendar. You can see how we're celebrating this. And like I said, please don't hesitate to send us an email with the breaking news within the environmental sciences field, as well as encouraging us to talk about this in other sessions. And then we also have an ocean game whereby you can even educate the young ones about the ocean using that game. So here on Unit 4, as I've indicated, is about the introduction of robotics and environmental sciences, the future. So in this part here, I explained the learning outcomes. So you can see the additional and useful URLs. Here, the inventions that are saving the earth, there's a video on that as well. And then there's a climate change video that talks about some few robots that are being used there, as well as, in Unit 1, yesterday I covered that 3D printing machine that prints the houses. And that was an innovation idea from the University of Johannesburg. And then there's a question that will we fix climate change? That's a very nice and useful video. And then there's another video here that says, do we need nuclear energy to stop climate change? So this is where the world is going. And then there's geoengineering, a renewable idea we might have to do. So those are some of the videos that one can have a look at in order to be able to complete some of these assessments or to get some few ideas. So because of time, I won't waste much of your time. I want to first introduce a lady. Her name is Pearl. She's from one of the science centers. So Pearl will be talking about the importance of technology within analytical chemistry, as well as how can we include that, or how some activities one can introduce for you as a robotics coach, a learner, and a student. Pearl, are you in the house? Greetings. Greetings, Pearl.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, and how are you?
I am well, thank you so much. I guess you are calling us all the way from the province, the largest province, or no, it's not large. You are in the northeastern side of South Africa. You are in the Limpopo province, right?
Yes, I'm in the hottest province, I
The
guess.
hottest province, yes, that's what I wanted to say. So
Yeah.
yes, so far, how are these sessions? Before we start introducing you, just want to get your comment. So far, how are these sessions? Do you think these sessions are doing well? Do you think you can implement some of the things that you have learned here into your science center? Do you have any additional comments?
Uh, Most definitely, they are very insightful, and I wish I was attending the session with the assistant teachers and the learners at the center, so that they can learn and remind me that, oh, let's try the cancer thing. Let's look at a video on climate change, and yeah, and I learned a lot from this. Next time, I'm most definitely attending with my kids.
All right. We've got the recordings will be loaded, and don't worry about that. But without wasting time, over to you, Pearl. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to greet everyone who is attending the session. Can I please share my screen?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
I'll let you know once we see your screen.
Okay, here. Sure. Can you see it?
Once I see your screen, I'll let you know. There we go. Thank you so much.
Okay. Um. So, I'm Palsukwati. I'm from STEAM Ambassadors Club. So at STEAM Ambassadors Club, we do aftercare. We teach children how to do experiments, hands-on experiments, so that they can learn. So what is analytical chemistry? Analytical chemistry basically it's a study where.
Pearl, can I kindly please cut you there?
Okay.
Can you please put your presentation on slide mode, please?
On slide mode. Okay. Yeah. Is it on slide mode?
Not yet. On my side, the network might be misbehaving. It's not on slide mode yet.
Okay, sure.
So you simply click on slide mode there on the top.
I'm not sure.
And then once you're done, you say from beginning, or start from beginning. Can you see that cursor? Or can you see that what's written slide mode? Can you see that part? Not. So it's written.
No.
You see? Can you see there where it's written file home? Can you see that? On your top left, can you see
on my? It's not here.
So on your top left, it's written file, and then it's home, insert, design, transitions, animations, and slideshow. Slideshow. Can you see where it's written slideshow?
I do not have that. Let me do enter full screen. No, this is going to child the time that we do not have.
All right, then you can continue with what you have then, if that's okay with you.
Okay. Yeah. What have I done now? Okay. Basically, I was talking about the analytical chemistry field. I studied analytical chemistry at TUT, and what we were doing basically, it was analyzing the samples and separating them, doing the investigations, and when we are doing the investigation, it was equipping us with critical skills, analytical skills, and problem solving skills. So when we bring it to the children, and now in this digitization field, you find that when we were in the lab, we were using we were preparing our own samples. So currently in this digitization field, you find that digitization era, the preparation of samples and all those processes, they are time consuming, and whereby you'll find that you're having a backlog in the laboratory. So most of the I've seen with the previous presenter, he's been talking about the instruments that are automated, but then we still have the scientists that have to try run the samples and see if they give them the good result that they are looking for. So those could be time consuming. So as we teach the children to design robotics, we encourage them to design robots that could be that could run the lab on self-automation, like they will start from accepting the samples, preparing the samples up until they put them in the instruments. And those robotics, they could be portable in a way that they are not going to be bumping into the lab instruments, or they could be bumping into chairs and other things. Can I exit the screen? So the analytical chemistry field is it uses standards and error analysis. So in this field, we'll need to have AIs. So we need to introduce our children as they are doing the robotics. We need to introduce them to AI so that they can come with innovation that could could uh, could abide to the standards, and also do the analysis in a way that it's very fast, and it reduces that time, and it avoids contamination. And I mean, you can imagine when a scientist is in the lab, they do errors, there is contamination that's happening. So if we have a robot that are innovated, then we can reduce the contamination that we have. It comes with the cost of the chemicals that we buy for the laboratories, and it will also avoid the backlog that we have, and the cost of the your beakers. Humans will drop the beakers, and we will drop the glassware in the laboratory. So those robotics, they will avoid such costs that comes with human errors. And how do we include analytical chemistry in educating learners? We introduce them to experiments so that they can do volcanoes, and with those experiments that they will be doing, they learn data collection, problem solving, gain critical thinking skills, and communication, and also deductive and reasoning and innovation as well. And with formulation science, that's where they become interested, and they'll get to think, if I add this chemical to this one, then with that it helps them to think and also measure. So when they become innovative, remember, with the innovation of robotics, we have to start with design thinking. So the introduction of experiments, it will help them to think and see where the problems, and then that's when they'll come with computational thinking, and with the solutions to those problems, that when we were formulating the soaps, we are going to consume time, so we can come up with a robotic that will help us to formulate soaps that it can be done with a split of a second. And the other thing is, when we show them experiments, let's say maybe analyzing the contamination in the water, they can think of AI that can that can scan. Like now I was looking at an app that scans a plant, and it tells you what the plant needs. So they can think of those kind of AIs that we can come up with an app that when we snap the water, it can determine which metals are in there, and what is it needed. It tells you what is in the water, and then what is it that you need to clean up the water so that it can be drinkable water. The importance of analytical chemistry in the society, it helps us with solving problems, like when we're having a case of thieves. Maybe there was a breakdown in your houses. It will help us to through the fingerprints. So if we're having AIs that are assisting us to check those kind of, to do those kind of analysis, the cases will be solved very easy, and it helps us with critical thinking, because when we are solving problems, we get to unpack those problems, and we think critically, how do we solve this problem? And it also helps us with investigative knowledge and skills, and the ability to reason, also decision making. So if for example, the one that of catching a thief, if we find in 5 seconds we got the fingerprints match through an AI or a robot, then we can decide then the court can decide in a day or so if that person is sentenced, that person, how long must be that person sentenced. What we do at our center, like our journey, we started in 2018 December. We started the club by teaching children offline robotics, and now we take them for educational tours whereby they learn a different kind of thing so that they can think innovatively and critically. And we also help them with reading skills, and also innovating robotics from your recycled materials, so that they can not just think of, okay, robotics are being done with Lego. They should know that, okay, I can use any other material to create my robot. And the products that we have produced at our center, we've published a book, #Coding with Hanya, and a hopscotch mat that goes with the book, and it gives them an introduction to those who do not know much about coding. So it gives them the simple meaning of what is coding, and it guides them, okay, this is how you do coding offline. And yeah, the services that we offer, it's aftercare services, tutoring, mentorship, collaboration with other ECD centers, whereby we do digital literacy training with them. We also introduce them to coding and robotic lessons. We do school holiday boot camps, competitions and roadshows, and educational tours. And the apps that we use, in most cases, we use YouTube. That's where we learn, and the kids, they enjoy learning through seeing. They enjoy learning with interactive material. So, for example, you find that they have projects to do a water cycle. So when we show them the videos on YouTube, they get fascinated, and then that's how they learn. We also use MTN My School, Vodacom eSchool, and Picture This for plans that auto diagnosis when we are on the field. Careers related to analytical chemistry is forensic analyst, lab worker, principal investigator, clinical workers, pharmaceutical researcher, food technology, environmental scientist, quality control chemist, nuclear. Like I said, at the beginning of my career, I started as an analytical chemist in the laboratory. I was analyzing water, and after 2 years, I changed to become an environmental management inspector for about 10 years, whereby I was doing investigative and enforcement work. So the analytical chemistry, it has it has lots of opportunities. It's not limited to the ones that I've stated. Some they get to work in the water analysis work, and water plants. Some they get to work in different fields. So analytical chemistry field, it's quite open. Like the other like the presenter before, they said they're analyzing cancer things, so it can be also in the medical field. And the learners can do subjects such as mathematics, physical science, and English. Those are the subject that they want most, and could be in level 5. The at TUT, I remember they wanted this subject, and it was level 5. And yeah, that's all. My contact details, I'm on Facebook with Pulse Beer, and also we have the Facebook page for our club, which is the Ambassadors Club. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pearl. I really appreciate the opportunity that you have given unto us. You mentioned enjoying learning through seeing, which is what you are encouraging in your center, and you mentioned those apps that you are using. So now those apps, Are they free to use? Because I feel like one of our participants might have that question.
YouTube, it requires that MTN and eSchool, they are free to use. And picture, it also requires that as well.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Pearl. I'm going to kindly ask you to stop sharing your screen. I would like to introduce another guest of mine. I'm sure most of you know him. He's a regular here in the house. His name is Kent. So Kent will be touching on the presentation that I presented on yesterday. So that presentation is about the My 2050 calculator. And I like the fact that Pearl mentioned that it is important that learners learn through seeing, because it's easier and it becomes nice for them to learn such. That's why we use such simulation apps called the My 2050 calculator. Greetings, Kent.
Hey, Tmolo. Thanks again for the invite. Happy to be here. Hi, all. I'll just say hi on camera first, and then I'll take myself off.
Before you start presenting, just want to hear one or two words regarding these sessions. How are these sessions so far, the presentations? I know you also follow us via emails and you interact with me more. What's your take on these sessions?
No, it's a great variety. I appreciate, because I only saw the last two, but for the whole range of topics that you're covering, it's really good. I think that's it, because when you're looking at robotics, it's applicable to everything. It's cross-cutting. So yeah, good work and getting people from such diverse groups. That's commendable.
Thank you so much. Once again, welcome, and over to you, Kent.
Thanks. How much time do you want me to take?
I give you 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll try and keep it to 10, I think, because you have a lot to do, eh?
Sweet. Thank you.
I see. Great. Let me just put it here. Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to start with a refresher. This big dooming concept of climate change. I think it's more and more in the news, so I'm sure you've touched on some of this in your studies or elsewhere, but just a refresher. The more we hear it, the more we understand it, I think. So yeah, what's causing climate change? It's these gases, it's these greenhouse gases. It's carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. There's 7 gases, but these are the 3 main gases. And they come from just about every activity we do. So unfortunately, we have to blame ourselves. But the greenhouse effect is what is causing global warming, and that is the science behind climate change. And the greenhouse gas effect is the change in our atmosphere. So the gases causing a reflective layer of the UV rays. So there's more and more warm air around the Earth, and that is on average increasing the warmth of the planet. So when I see greenhouse gases come from everything, it's from agriculture systems, from livestock, from the soils, whenever we're digging up soils. And I heard someone asking, why are we building in riparian or below flood lines? I mean, those are some important areas for carbon storage and things too. It's another reason why we shouldn't be building there. But there's lots to talk about on that topic. So what's it doing to us? Why do we matter? Why do we care? Because climate change is probably going to affect Africa 4 times worse than most other countries, most other regions. So I mean, the Scandinavians and Sweden, Norway, they joke because maybe they can grow wine like in Stellenbosch there in the future. But for us, maybe the agriculture will not be possible in certain places. So this is a general idea of where the climate is heading. in the next 80 years, 100 years. And we see a diversity of increased precipitation, increased rain in the east, and then more dry weather and hotter spells in the central areas, maybe even uninhabitable in the Northern Cape in some places, to reduced rain in the Cape. And there's variation in between. So it's affecting our food systems, it's affecting our daily life, our work, if we have to work outside. It's affecting our technologies. Can they withstand the increased heat, our electricity system? It might even cause more issues with the infrastructure. So yeah, we have to think about it. So last year, and I encourage you to take a look if you're interested in, so the IPCC, which is the International Panel on Climate Change, published the latest science on climate change. And that's an international group of scientists that get together every 4 or 5 years, and they scour through all the publications and look at what the latest research is saying and how much we have to worry about it. What is the confidence level of some of these conclusions made by the scientists? So this is one example that came from the AR6, showing the surface soil moisture change that's happening. So this is evidence to say climate change is happening. And you can see in southern Africa, the surface soil moisture has changed about 20%. So that's quite negative, right? There's some places with increased soil moisture. So things change around the world, but like I say, in Southern Africa, we have much more things to worry about than a lot of places. The temperature trend, already the Earth is warming, and that's what this is showing. So per decade, so every 10 years, they've seen that the increase in temperature is about 1/4 of a degree. So over 40 years, that would be 1 degree increase. Whereas the international commitments for the Paris Agreement is they're trying to prevent temperatures increasing by 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees globally, but it'll already exceed 1.5 degrees in a couple decades in Southern Africa. So this is just a little image of what action, because I always want to talk about what we can do, what things have to happen, what changes we have to do. And I don't want to, one point I want to make is let's not get distracted by small changes. Let's look at the bigger changes that need to happen, the systematic changes. So those are in our sector systems. So when people are finishing their studies and going to work in their field of expertise, it's to every sector has something contribution they can do at a systematic level, and that's to keep in the back of your mind. So the industry, in energy, in healthcare, in the urban planning systems, in agriculture, and water management, there's something that needs to be done in terms of reducing greenhouse gases and ensuring people have a future livelihoods and are able to take care of themselves. So you heard a little bit about the My 2050. This is from DFFE, where I have worked for many years and still support the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. This is an online tool just to look at different scenarios. This is the starting point. You're trying to achieve a goal on the top, and these are your options on below. And if we choose a few different selections, even with the sound, there's different sounds and what we can do. So the changes here, I mean, one of the important sectors we cannot leave out is energy and electricity specifically. And we know we're in a difficult time as a country in the electricity sector, but there's a lot of positive potential that can be done in terms of renewable energy, in terms of cleaning up the air and such, and things like that. But you can play with this and you can think about the trade-offs. You can choose an option between a scenario where nuclear is built, or gas, or carbon capture and storage from the coal sector or wind and solar. And you can check out what the impacts will be in their emissions on the top. This is based on this more complex calculator, which is the 2050 pathways, which also looks to 2050. And there's a few more disaggregated options here, levers you can touch. You can select level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and there's a blurb that describes each lever, and it's broken up by energy sector, transport, industry, households, and the supply of fuels. And you can see what impact that has on our greenhouse gas emissions, our energy supply, and you can even look at it in different ways. This is a cool way to look at energy flows, what comes in and what goes out, and looking at our impacts like that. So that's just to touch on those. So there's a lot to do, as I said. So I think some of the biggest, if I could recommend some of the biggest changes we need to do as a world and as a region, what we should do is reduce our emissions from fuel use, and that's especially from the electricity sector. There's a lot of co-benefits from increasing soil carbon, so that can contribute quite a lot to climate change. We should be looking at our waste sector from cradle to grave. We should look at a design of products, reducing waste, increasing recycling. That can all have a significant impact on emissions, because in industry, some of the biggest emitters, well, we know producing diesel from coal through the CTL process at Sasol and PetroSA is one of the dirtiest, but the steel sector, aluminium sector emit lots of emissions. Cement emits a lot of emissions. So we have to look at alternatives. We have to look at different ways to design our society. Food systems, I mean, the decomposition of organic matter, so all food that is wasted away and rots, that's emitting emissions, and that's such a waste, both in terms of food waste and emissions. So these are some key things that I think we can do. And robotics are here. Technology, this is where we have to use and think about how can we create more ideas, new ways to do different things, and have still have a fair and just society with increased livability for everyone, but still not live to excess and have such an impact on the environment. And this is the new big concept that you'll hear more and more, and I think you should try to pay attention when this pops up, the just transition. This is how do we shift to a low carbon future where we can achieve a net zero emissions in 2050 and have a resilient society, while also ensuring people have decent work for all, that there's social inclusion and poverty is reduced. And this just transition has been trademarked by a process happening in South Africa to shift the energy sector over the long term to renewables, and it's internationally recognized. And this is a term that's being played around in many different contexts around the world now, but it's very much about equity and decent work for all. So if we think of jobs, if we think of the economy, if we think about how we can transition to a better world, how we want to live, how can we also make it just? And where, that's the last thoughts I want to say, is where can robots assist? How can they improve our progress to achieve our end state? They can help collect data. We're talking about in the analytical chemistry world, they can free up time to do better research and collect data. In agriculture, you can apply less fertilizer using precision technology with robots driving around on the ground. So these are some ideas, but there's many more. And I encourage you to participate in these discussions around climate change or just transition, and also think about the role you can play and your community organizations in that sense. Well, I'm a little bit over 10 minutes, but thanks, and I'll send it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kent. Really appreciate the opportunity that you have given unto us. And before I let you go, Kent, I must say that climate change is really affecting us. And one of the effects of climate change that people don't consider, load shedding is part of what climate change has contributed. What's your take on that?
No.
Not.
Let's not detract from the real issues of our electricity sector.
Okay.
But if temperatures increase, the transistors, the transmission systems can overheat. So there's more importance for cooling with those cell phone towers. So there can be an impact on these electricity and communication systems. That's what I mean to say.
All right. I think that's a topic for another debate, for another day. I want to include you in that. I see, thank you once again, Kent. I see his hand is up.
I just have a question, Kent.
Please speak a bit louder, please.
Yes.
Sbu, come again.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. I just have a question for Kent. Is that okay?
All right, but okay, no, shoot, and then I'll
Shoot.
go back
Oh,
to
okay.
the other ones. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tumelo. Kent, if I may ask, sorry, with my limited knowledge of environmental sciences, I'm just curious. You said that Africa would be affected the most by climate change. Just why is that? And the second question is, given that Africa is the minimal contributor into CO2 emissions, what's your take on that? Thank you.
All right. Before Kent answers, I would like to go back to Nawa. I promised Nawa that I'll give you a platform to answer the question. Nawa, are you in the house? Please ask your question, and Ms. Mutene is also in the house also to answer your question. The floor is yours.
My question was related to Sinosipo's presentation. She was about to answer, then she was interrupted. About the training. She was explaining the whole process. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Ms. Sinosipo, kindly please provide answers.
Can Neo please repeat the question? Was it the question about the trainings for teachers?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the.
Okay, so yes, we do. Like I said, we do provide trainings to teachers. So physical sciences, geography as well. You just need to send a request via email, and then we will just get back to you. Like I said to Dumelo, it's free. The training is free. We will just go to whichever district or whichever area we are invited to, and then we would do the training. Of course, we would have to plan it together. So that's why the sending the request would be important, and then we would have meetings on how to conduct the whole thing. Yeah, we've done trainings with the Department of Education in Taung, or in that district or that area last year. So we involve some universities that we work with here at SANSA to provide geography training or GIS training, as well as physical sciences training. So we do this in order to support the curriculum. So yeah, essentially you just need to send us a request and then we can take it from there.
And then for now, if you'd like to get hold of Sne, kindly please send us an email here on ISAT. And then on the subject line, just write robotics and environmental sciences, and then just say you'd like to get hold of Sinesipho. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then Kent, a question was asked by Mr. Spusiso. Over to you.
Yeah, and I was gonna put my, there's no chat option. I was gonna put my email up for, because there's limited time to discuss these things if you want to chat more. But no, I'll give a brief answer. The first question, why Africa is more vulnerable. There's two parts to that. One is the physical changes, the anomalies around temperature change and climate patterns and things. There's models that are used to look at very complicated currents in the ocean and the atmosphere and things, and it's just so happens that the positioning of Africa in the world and things, it's hotter. But also, we have a less ability to adapt compared to many other developed regions because of poor governance and issues around our ability to conquer certain issues. So that's another contributor for Africa. And South Africa is the biggest polluter or emitter in Africa. It's the 13th worst polluter in the world. So it is up there on the charts, but having said that, it's still 1.5% of the global emissions. So true, without the US and China and India, there's nothing we can do to save the world. But there is an international agreement that all countries will contribute a fair share to reducing emissions. So it's still important for South Africa to commit, while we also, through this changed systems, will improve environmental health and our public health sectors drastically. So it's just worth our while to shift.
Right. Thank you so much. I hope you answered Spusiso. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Do you have a question from Alpheus? Oh, wait, is Almarie here? I remember she asked the question. Oh, shucks, she's not here. All right, Spusiso, you have a question from Casper Johannes. Casper, you can ask your question. This is the right platform to ask Spusiso.
Sorry, which part was the question on?
Do you have a question on Spusiso? Remember I said you can ask him here.
Yeah, it was just on, so we had a question yesterday, but I think you've already covered that part. But the other one was, just try and find it quickly, if I can find it here on my side.
All right. Okay, then it's fine. We'll come back to you. Do you have any question from Alpheus? So far, what have you learned from these past 2 days if you were here? Any question? Any question from Ms. Mutene regarding today's session?
No question from me, thank you.
All right. Any other question from the likes of Mateja Nakedi? I even saw you yesterday in one of the sessions. What's your take? Do you have any comments? Would like to say something? All right, I see your microphone is unmuted, Casper. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just, while the presenter was talking about the cancer, I remember this one case. The guy came to my aunt and he had a form of cancer. So what they did is they gave him some, I don't know what, unfortunately, I don't know what is the English word for it, but it's in Afrikaans, it's called Nalki Mampur. So it's a type of alcohol. They gave it to the patient, and then what happened is his cancer levels actually went down. It was almost cured with that. That was just one thing I've thought I must maybe mention.
All right. Before Spusiso, okay, wait. Spusiso, answer. I also have something to add.
Thank you, and Dumela and Casper. Yes, yes. I mean, we are in the business of looking into such things. So, prior knowledge from people like you and people who have actually experienced this, is quite crucial for our research, so that we can help fast track the drug discovery process and also find cheaper alternatives. Because something that I probably did not mention during my presentation is that chemotherapy, radiation, and all of these things are quite expensive, and not everyone in South Africa can afford them. So having a plant like this, or Mampuru, that can be easily generated, and that is something that we can look into. But yeah, thank you for that. Maybe we can chat after this.
Thank you. Before I hand over to Dr. Hoos, Dr. Spoo, the first time I met you, you once said that I want you to scare us a bit. There are different types of food that contribute to cancer. Am I correct?
Oh, yes.
Just touch on that part and then you just leave us to think
Yeah.
about it.
Okay, absolutely. I mean, these foods are not causative of cancer, but they contribute towards the progression of cancer. And what we have seen is that cancer loves sugar. So it loves a lot of sugar. So sugar is one of the culprits, but also oils and fats. Okay, so obesity is a risk factor, because what the body does, if there's too much fats and sugar, what they do is they redirect that to the cancer, and the cancer keeps on growing. So there are many other factors that can contribute towards the progression, but not so much the causing of cancer.
Spoo, you are invited on another session. Just letting you know. Thank you so much. Dr. Hoos, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Indeed. Hello. My hand is up because I need to say something. And this has been a really cool session. It's been a diverse session, which is what it's supposed to be. This is about robotics and environmental science. And there is, between the two domains of knowledge, there is actually a lot happening, and a lot happening currently. But I think you were touching on what we're going to do in the next round when we do these 4 sessions. And so I definitely think, number one, we do need to touch on the ethics of robotics in the environment. Your robot rule number 1 is for the greater good of human, not to harm. And so we need to say, so where do the robots not harm the human, but to work to enhance our lives? That's definitely number 1. And number 2, we've got some ideas. We want to get our youth in to start building solutions. And so that's also going to be a really cool add to the already diverse collection of presentations. And well done to all the speakers for making this these last 2 days very exciting, very diverse. But we need to have these conversations. And so Tumelo, thank you for collecting a whole bunch of really interesting people, and let's let's see what we can do next time. But there's lots to talk about, and maybe that's also part of the feedback. We really do value feedback, and so we're busy setting up on the MOOC portal. Hopefully, if the long weekend is long enough that I don't have to work, but that I can do things that are really cool, I'll have the questionnaires up on the MOOC portal. We've already got the ethical clearance for it, but part of what you learn and what you gain from these sessions is to say, any suggestions how to make this more relevant. And it's a dynamic field, so we keep moving on, and we keep moving on to address this diverse just collection of knowledge. And so well done to Melo and to all the speakers that presented. And let's see, I'm really excited about our next round of sessions. We need to
Definitely.
Let's see what happens. All right. But if you do the MOOCs, if you go to the MOOC portal and you do feel like you need to submit a portfolio, you will be getting a certificate. We're busy figuring that out, but also to contribute to the overall evaluation. We'd really appreciate that, and suggestions are always welcome. All right. That's enough said. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Mila.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hoos.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gents, I would really like to take this opportunity and thank my guests, the UNISA Science Engagement
Absolutely.
Center team, the likes of Dr. Hoos. And you know, this is what a science center is all about. It's about educating the general public, and we really value your feedback, as she mentioned as well. So please don't hesitate to also send us an email indicating some few suggestions or where can we fix, and also some topics that we can even include on the next round. Otherwise, with me and from the UNISA Science Engagement Center team, thank you so much. And for those that are watching the recording, I hope you really enjoyed as well.